All right, so today we're here with Abby and Gambini, and this is their roadmap to success. So when I first got here, they were pretty excited and jumping up towards the door, which you saw in the earlier video. And the guardians wanted to work on some door etiquette and also wanted to work on helping Gambini over here not be reactive to the kids when they're outside playing or roughhousing. So I want to refer you to the video just above this one, and that will go over what you need to do to use counter conditioning to help them not be reactive to the kids playing. But one of the things that I want to mention is that we went over how to use our escalating consequences to disagree with the dogs when they are invading personal space or that they are going beyond a boundary that you do not want them to go beyond. So that's how we're going to teach them the door etiquette. So make sure to use the escalating consequences. Make sure everybody in the house knows where that boundary is, because we're creating an invisible boundary and keeping them behind it. That way, when people come to the door, they're not pushing their way to the people, and they're staying a respectful distance away. We also use the same exact method, the escalating consequences, to keep them away from the dinner table. Now remember that over the next 2 weeks or so, you're going to have to be very consistent and persistent. So you want to make sure that every time they cross that boundary, if there's food on the table, you're there to disagree with them. So they start to learn on their own over time to stay behind that boundary, whether it's the door, the table, or the staircase. So you want to be able to disagree with them at each time so they learn to stop going by that boundary at all. Got like a little photo bomb there. All right, so the other thing that we want to go over today is I want them to start looking to their guardians as leaders of the house and them adopting a follower mindset. And there's a lot of little ways that we're doing this. So certain rules that you want to make sure that you're enforcing. No furniture, even including the bed. You want to make sure that they are always sitting before they go out the door. Now, we really want to work on, because Abby here loves to go out of the door and bark, 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 because she thinks she's going out and telling the whole neighborhood that this is my yard. But what's happening is she hasn't built up any self-control. So she's just bolting out the door and bark, bark, bark. So the first time we did this today, we had her go into a sit position, and then we didn't open the door all the way until she stayed in a sit. So remember, put her into a sit. As you open the door, if she starts to get out of a sit, close it immediately. And then she will sit back on her own, and then go ahead and eventually get to the point where you have the door all the way open, and then you can go ahead and give her a release word like out, and that's her permission to go out the door. That stopped her from barking outside altogether, because she's had to work on that self-control, and you're taking the leadership position, and it's not her job anymore to go outside and warn everybody else that that's her yard. You're taking that control away from her, and you guys are able to enforce that. Now, we want to think about the energy level of the dogs at all times. So another rule, they shouldn't be coming out of their kennel or their crates until you give them a release word. So remember to shut the door on them if they try to get out without permission. You want to be able to open their kennel door all the way, give them a release word out, and let them come out of the kennel at that point. This will build up their self-control so they're not going and then starting to get in disagreements with each other. So one of the common ways they would get into disagreements is that they'd come bursting out of their kennels, and then they'd chase each other around, and it would keep escalating until one of the dogs got upset, and then they would start to they would challenge each other. So if we wait for them to be nice and calm in their kennels, and they're starting in a controlled way, and they're walking out of their kennels in a calm manner, they won't start to do this at all. So we're kind of nipping this in the bud. We're not going to prevent the fight as it starts to occur. We're going to make sure it doesn't happen whatsoever. And then we can use the counter conditioning that we used in the video above with the kids to help them not get into disagreements outside. So you can use the counter conditioning with Gambini while Abby is running around. Make sure that you're giving him treats when he's watching her move around in the yard, so he learns to stop chasing her. What were some of the other rules? Some rules that something else to encourage is to go out and get a dog bed, okay? Get 2 dog beds, one for Gambini, one for Abby over here. When the dogs are on the dog bed, they're off limits to the kids. The kids shouldn't try to coax them off the bed with toys, call them off the bed, pet them. They're off limits. That's their little safe zone, so they get time off, and they don't ever get to the point where they're just so exhausted that they ever have to give a warning to the kids that they need their own space. And remember, you want to encourage your kids to pet them on their sides like this. nice and calm, long strokes like that. When kids kind of get into a dog's face and hold it and constrain it, the dogs don't have an option to try to remove themselves in a calm and like proactive way because they've been taken that away. So that's when a nip or a bite could occur. So we just want to prevent that by encouraging the kids to only pet them, you know, nice long strokes on their sides and not grabbing out their face. All right, so I want to remind you that everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.